Hi everybody and welcome to Matrix Live Season 8, I think, and I don't know what episode it is, do you?
No, I don't. I didn't check.
It has been a while since we've done one of these, so much I've actually had a haircut by the look of it.
Yeah.
But
Maybe last time was the last time you had a haircut, so maybe people missed the
God,
long
no,
hair
come on, it hasn't
period.
been 2 years. I mean, we do Matrix Lives more frequently than that. Either way, sorry that it's been a while since we had the opportunity to sync, but we thought it would be nice to do one for old time's sake, and because Thibaut didn't have anybody else. So, what's going on, Amandine? What have we been doing?
So Thibaut didn't have anybody else because he didn't have the time to look for people because he's been rebuilding the Matrix.org website.
Oh yes, indeed.
right.
I saw that. In
together.
fact, in this week's TWIM, if you've not clicked on the link, there is a sneak preview of the entirely new, rewritten website.
Re-beautified
Yep.
as well.
It's looking good.
Yeah.
I haven't properly gone through it, but it certainly flipped through it first thing this morning on my phone after I saw it in #TWIM, and it was looking good. So thanks, Thibaut, for doing that. And then what else on the Matrix Foundation side, hypothetically, leading question?
Yeah, I know, but I wanted to explain the Matrix.org website side. So yeah, the Matrix Foundation stuff has been quite busy. As we mentioned a few months back, we've been starting to operationalize it and putting together a membership program, basically. So people can come and support the foundation financially and also get a seat at the table in terms of helping run it and helping drive it. So the program, we'll launch it in a few weeks officially, but a lot of it is done right now. We already have members coming through. And more importantly, last week we also put out a job description to hire a managing director for the foundation, because it's very well for us to try to spend time with huge support from Thibaut and the finance team here at Element. But we need someone who is working on this full time so that the foundation can actually go to the next level and support the ecosystem and market it better, etc., etc. So it's super exciting.
Yep.
Eventually, we're moving to the next steps.
And to be clear, this isn't like somebody taking over project lead of Matrix or having like creative control over the protocol or anything. Instead, it's very much basically running the business side of the foundation, going and doing the fundraising stuff that needs somebody at least full-time working on, as well as basically taking over all the stuff that you've been doing.
Yeah, and decide, like, do we want to do a big Matrix conference? How would we do it? How do we organize it? Do we want to set up an accreditation program? Then how do we set it up? And all these sort of things which would make Matrix better and bigger and nicer.
Basically, the funding challenges that we gently touched on over the end of last year are unfortunately very much still here. I mean, Matrix is continuing to grow. Like, I saw that the Polish Ministry of Defense apparently has adopted Matrix as their secure messenger across the board, which is awesome, but they have done so without any collaboration with us on the Matrix side, or for that matter on the Element side. So it may be great news for some vendor in Poland, or possibly the folks who just happen to work at the MOD there. But it's pretty catastrophic in terms of actually getting funding to trickle back through to us to go and actually pay for people to work on Synapse or OM or Vidozomats or Element Call or any of the other open source foundational building blocks which we put out to the glory of the wider Matrix ecosystem. So
and everyone else who is actually supporting it, basically.
Yeah. So we are still, hopefully going and getting the managing director in place in the foundation, finishing off the membership agreements that we're a bit late on, but will land very shortly, as Amandine said, should hopefully improve things massively. Please continue to support us financially, though, and if you see your workplace or your country going and enthusiastically putting millions of users onto Matrix and feeling very smug because they don't have to pay anybody anything, spare a thought for the people who actually wrote it, who still need to be able to pay their salaries.
Yeah.
I guess it's a bit sad in some ways. All the stuff that we do these days is much more focused around this sort of admin and bigger picture stuff rather than, I think back to Matrix Live years gone by, we'd be enthusing about the latest features, we've just added reactions or edits or synapses, gone and added a cache here, so whatever it might happen to be. Whereas instead, we're now going to talk about politics.
Yeah, it's basically part of being a grown-up now. The foundation, the
Speak for
ecosystem
yourself.
is bigger.
I will never be a grown-up.
Now we have to get engaged into politics. We had someone coming to the office yesterday telling us, so you're very engaged on all the lobbying things for DMA and the online safety bill we're about to talk and yeah, I was like, why? Well, because we're trying to have an impact and make the world a better place, right? So we have to go at the top.
I mean, open source is intrinsically a political statement, and decentralization and democratizing communication even more so. So, unfortunately, it's all comically under threat right now from the UK, our home territory here, of course, who, in their infinite wisdom, have proposed the online safety bill, which started off as a fairly laudable attempt to stop the centralized big tech social media companies from going and addicting users to abusive content like suicide material or terrorism or whatever it might happen to be. Unfortunately, the regulation has gone completely out of control, and as it currently stands, would mandate, well, basically would give Ofcom, the telecoms regulator for the UK, the ability to force us or any other encrypted communication system to add third-party, proprietary, accredited content scanning capability in order to spot abusive content and flag it through to somebody, possibly our moderation team at Element. And this is obviously completely and utterly unthinkable, because it would fundamentally undermine the end-to-end encryption if you got a third-party piece of software going and scanning everything and doing God knows what with it, not to mention the impact to the security profile of the app if you're depending on some, again, unknown entity's proposal. It's just going to provide an attack mechanism for people to try to add in cross-site scripting or RCEs or other vulnerabilities in order to exfiltrate and steal data. It also means that you could end up with questionable content piling up somewhere in a moderation system, which in turn becomes a massive honeypot for attackers. It's a dystopian nightmare. It is the equivalent to the 1984 concept of having a CCTV camera in everybody's bedroom in order to keep an eye on what they're doing, just in case they do something wrong. And we wouldn't accept it in real life. We should not accept it on the internet either. So over the last couple of weeks, we have done a huge amount of publicity, for want of a better word, to go and try to tell people before it's too late, because it's really quite far through the process of the UK legislative process. And it's currently, literally yesterday, there was the third debate in the House of Lords, which might sound fancy if you're not used to the UK political system, but is basically the checks and balances side of the elected democratic side of the process. The good news is that the debate was pretty good. Like, every point that was raised seemingly was pointing out what we just mentioned as a this could be a massive human rights problem, a huge privacy invasion. It will make the UK look like a laughingstock technically, and all the various lords and barons and baronesses stood up one by one and made very cogent points. So somebody is listening to sense. The only disadvantage is that then the representative from the government at the end kind of summarised it, and it was just disastrous, saying, of course, the bill is not trying to both scan and undermine encryption. We would never undermine encryption. We would do nothing to undermine people's privacy, but we are going to scan because it's the only right thing we can do, blah, blah, blah. So one step forwards, one step backwards. There's just going to be a massive fight in the UK media, I guess, over the coming weeks as the debate finalises, and then they vote on it and see whether they can go and remove encryption from the scope, or possibly give up on the bill altogether. If you haven't seen, there's a petition link if you are a UK citizen in Twin this week. or resident. Yep, sorry. No offence to UK residents who are not citizens. If you're living in the UK, click on the petition link in TWIM and make your voice heard, because if it gets to, I think, 10,000 or 100,000, 10,000 votes, then they have to bring it up anyway. And frankly, it's quite a useful point if somebody in the debate can say, hang on, there's lots of people out there who think this is a really bad idea. Are we sure this is a good idea? So let's see what happens. And yeah, I can't believe that I spend way too much time talking about this on the radio and on the TV, because I am a developer. I am not somebody who goes on TV shows to talk about human rights. But turns out that the UK isn't part of Europe anymore, so we can't depend on our trusty French and German and other European privacy activists to save our ass. Instead, you're stuck with me. What else?
So, what else? Do we want to continue on the kind of legislation angle and talk about linearized matrix? You want to tell us what it is?
Well, give us a quick DMA update in general, and then I'll explain how linearized matrix fits in.
DMA is going to enter into force next week, and the gatekeepers will be designated, I forget, but basically it's coming up where the first designation is going to come out, and then there will be time for people to push back and negotiate on this.
Well,
and
what is the DMA and what is a gatekeeper, very quickly?
Yes, sorry, I have to start from the beginning. I haven't been into it for too long. So the DMA is a Digital Markets Act. It's a European law which is mandating gatekeepers, i.e. big companies which have a stronghold on the digital market, to be more competitive and open up their gates in general. One of the area where they have to be more competitive is on messaging and communications in general. So basically, in short, it means that if anyone is going to, for example, WhatsApp or Google Chat or these guys, they're not confirmed yet, but feel like strong contenders to be designated as gatekeepers. If any other company goes to them and say, please, can I interoperate with you? They will have no choice but say yes, which is quite interesting because the DMA also mandated that any existing end-to-end encryption should be preserved. So basically, you have to use either they will have to just simply expose their APIs, which is a bit crap because then everyone will have to implement the APIs of the different gatekeepers, or everyone agrees on a good end-to-end encrypted open standard, which may or may not exist out there. I
think it exists.
to connect all the communication systems of the world and be the open communication layer of the open web.
So we ended up in Brussels back in February or March or something.
End of February, yeah.
End of Feb, to go and actually demonstrate how Matrix could be used to glue together the gatekeepers. And we did a fun demo of linking WhatsApp to Google Chat, actually, Hangouts as it was, that Travis put together, using client-side bridges as a dirty hack, but at least a way to show that you could preserve end-to-end encryption without even the DMA existing. And suffice it to say that it seems to have worked as a strategy to get people talking about how you could actually use Matrix to glue things together. And it's been a really interesting couple of weeks going and figuring that out more concretely. And one of the things that came out of it is this idea of linearized matrix, which is a subset of matrix, a simplified form, which is designed to be much, much simpler for large folks who don't care about matrix, such as hypothetical gatekeepers, in order to get them into the matrix network. And what it compromises on is the full mesh decentralization that you get on normal matrix, where all of the messages are replicated equally between the participating servers. Instead, it's the same as normal matrix in all respects, same events, same DAG, data structure, despite the name linearized matrix, same power levels, same access control, everything. The only difference is that in a linearized matrix segment of the network, you pick a hub server for a given conversation. So it basically typically the server of the user who creates a conversation will end up being a hub for that conversation, a bit like XMPP muck. However, the difference is that otherwise it's compatible with Matrix, and if you have a proper Matrix server flying around the place, then it can go and basically bust that conversation out from being a linearized version into a proper full mesh one, and then you are back in today's good old Matrix. So it's a kind of pragmatic mechanism to make it easier to implement the server side so that people who don't want to go down the rabbit hole of state resolution and state snapshots and all that complex stuff can have something which is much easier to reason about, which still provides a stepping stone into proper Matrix. And Travis went and built one of these, originally imaginatively called Linearised Matrix, not to be confused with Linearised Matrix, the protocol, although it just got renamed a few weeks ago to be Eigenserver, which I think is a very stupid mathematical pun and a cool name, just to differentiate it from the protocol. And I think it took him a few days to write it in TypeScript, and it's kind of exciting to see how easy it can be to go and build that subset server. So a whole new step change in how Matrix develops. Watch this space to see who might be ending up implementing linearized Matrix and whether that means that billions of users around the world end up being on the Matrix network via DMA, because that would be cool.
Yeah, that will be really cool. And basically the next step is that these potential gatekeepers have to come to the European Commission and present them a way they may implement the DMA. And that's why we've been working on that and put it out there and say, like, hey, gatekeepers, here is an option for you if you wanted ever to connect to an open standard. So the next few weeks are going to be really exciting, yeah, in that corner of the world.
Other stuff going on, and we're going to have to go quickly because we're now 2 minutes late for the meeting that we're meant to be at. So Element X stuff. I mean, Element X has been an interesting roller coaster. In the lead up to FOSDEM, there was a huge crunch to get a really amazing demo ready, and which we showed at FOSDEM. And then there's been a lot of picking up the pieces afterwards and fixing the corners that were cut and going and starting to really dogfood it on test flight and iterating on it, and there's been some pretty major rewrites of some bits of the stack. And meanwhile, in parallel, lots of other bits of it have been coming together too, like notifications, huge important thing, switching from SLED to SQLite that's been contributed by Kevin from the Fractal team. There is invites and joining rooms and all of this good stuff, but it all and file uploads and file downloads and basically all the ingredients that we need to actually ship it as a real app that people can use. The only slight catch is that they've all been happening in parallel and none of them have come together yet. So if you've been following along on test flights, yeah, it basically looks the same as it did back at FOSDEM back in February, which is a bit sad given we're now at the end of April. Yeah. But the number of different parallel branches which are gearing up ready to descend is very exciting. And we were aiming for end of April to get that initial release out on the actual app stores. I think there's a small chance that we might lag a little bit in it, but I'm not sure how long. Basically, lots of branches to be merged. It should have a huge step forwards, and then we dogfood it, decide whether it's good enough that people can actually start using it, and then we ship it. So then we will be shipping early and often, having got it out in that kind of alpha phase. But it is very exciting times to live in there.
Yeah. What else? Do we want to touch on other stuff quickly?
Yeah, I think so. Even though we're over time, I want to talk about Third Room briefly, because poor old Third Room needs more love, because it's only Robert and Nate and AJ hacking away on it, and Technology Preview 2 is on the horizon, although I think they should call it Beta 1, because frankly the thing that they shipped for FOSDEM was TP2, it just never got called that, and now it's really at the point where almost all of the features are in place. They've done things like add in direct manipulation editing for the GLTF scene graphs, for the collaborative real-time spatial applications, metaverse stuff that they power. And so if you hit the tilde key on your keyboard, then whilst in Third Room, you can now get a huge scene graph hierarchy down the left-hand side. You get a Monaco, so Visual Studio style JavaScript and TypeScript editor pop up, so you can directly manipulate the scripts which control how the world and the application behaves. You've got an inspector panel down the right-hand side to allow you to go wild, adjusting all the parameters, and it's really, really exciting seeing that coming together. Also have Exile working really nicely, which we play with a bit too much. What else can we say about Third Room? I think they are going to shift to a authoritative networking model fairly soon. At the moment, it's decentralized networking, which is more matrixy, but also a little less easy to predict. And a bit like Linearised Matrix, ironically, they're going to switch to a hub and spoke, at least in the short term, to make it more predictable. Albeit with the ability to move the hub around the place, so that if the hub leaves the room or you don't trust the hub, then perhaps it moves over. And it would also pick the user with the highest power level to operate as the hub. But yeah, I'm completely stealing their thunder on that. But basically, there'll be a huge new release of Third Room sometime real soon now. Okay, we're now 6 minutes late for our meeting. We should probably go. Have an amazing weekend, day, life, everybody. Thanks for flying Matrix. Please pass the word to try to stop the online safety bill if you're in the UK, and also to contribute as a member to the Matrix Foundation if you are freeloading off Matrix, please, so that Matrix can continue to exist. And that's about it.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.